Hello and welcome to my weekly walk and talk. I am still in the great state of Texas. Last week I did a video on San Antonio. Upcoming next week I'm going to have a video on Houston, and I'll also have a video on this amazing place where I am staying right now. But this week I'd like to take you back to one of the first walk and talks I did once I started my solo nomad travels. And the reason is it was in Sedona. And Sedona actually started off as a very scary place for me. And so I want to take you back because it's more about overcoming fears than what Sedona is all about. And I just think that there's a very good lesson in it. Heads up, the video quality isn't very good. I was actually streaming live with this video, but I wasn't on YouTube yet. I was just mostly doing my videos to Facebook. So that's why the quality is not that great, but the lesson is. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll follow up at the end. Greetings, welcome to Wednesday's Walk and Talk, and I am in a spectacular place. And if any of you have ever been to Sedona, just raise your hands or hit the like button. This is a magical place. And it's also a place that I had to overcome some pretty major fears, and I'm going to share that story. And I'm also going to conclude this with kind of a really funny story, because I was with a friend yesterday and talking about fears. So today, the subject of fears is like really, really on my mind. And so I want to share a couple of things, both maybe a little teary-eyed for me. We'll see if I can get through it without being teary-eyed, and kind of a funny story. But first, let me show you the magic of Sedona, and I hope you can hear me okay. There's like a breeze that comes up every once in a while, but I'm going to show you. I am on a hiking trail that leads to several different places, but in the distance there is just some of the different rock formations of Sedona. And then as I spin around, that rock formation right there is called Courthouse, and that one there is called Bell Rock. So there's two different parking places where you can hike up Bell Rock. You can, for rock climbers, they can climb Courthouse. There's also like a 8-mile loop that does like a figure 8 around these two structures. And then across the street, there's another formation called Cathedral Rock, and there's a whole bunch of different hiking trails on Cathedral Rock as well. So this is my magical place. I used to live about 90 minutes away from here, and this is where I would come very often. Quite often, John would come. Ooh, I'm gonna get back in the shade so I have better lighting. Quite often, I would come here with John, and we would hang out for a few days, and sometimes just to escape the heat of Phoenix. And then other times I would come up here by myself if I was going through a particularly stressful period of time inside of business, or if I just wanted to chill and John had other things to do, I would come up here by myself. And June 7th of last year was one of those times that I had gotten a 1-bedroom unit up here. I was here for, I think, 5 days. I think I came up on Sunday. I was going to stay until Friday. And John didn't come with me because he wanted to go on a hike down in Phoenix with some friends. And so I was here in Sedona by myself when I got the phone call that John had collapsed on a hike. And I can tell you it was the longest drive of my life, having to drive all the way down 90 minutes to the hospital where he had been transported to. And I was in conversation with the doctors. At that time, he was being kept alive with life support. They were putting him in surgery. And so it was the longest drive of my life. And because this is such a special place, yeah, I am going to get teary-eyed, because this is such a special place. This is where we honeymooned. This is where we spent a lot of time. And this is where I was when I got that phone call. One of my biggest fears was, how am I going to come back to this place? I mean, I love this place, but how am I going to come back here with all of the memories, and both good and bad up here? And so that's why I'm kind of prompted to talk about. Sorry about that. I forgot to put the do not disturb on my phone. I had a call coming in. So I'm also going to tell a funny story, because this is kind of what prompted the story around fear. There's another friend of mine from California who is visiting here in the area, and I saw on their Facebook page that they were here. So yesterday we got together and went and listened to some music and stuff. And we started talking about how we met inside of Meetup. If you're not familiar with Meetup, it sounds like a dating thing, and it does attract a lot of singles, but it's not a dating thing. It's actually an organization that brings people with like interests together. So if you like reading books, if you like hiking, if you like movies, if you like vacations, whatever, organizers will create a group, and it just attracts other people. And so John and I continue to be a part of Meetup even after we were married. But I first joined Meetup as a single person right after I had gotten divorced. And so we were talking about like the first Meetup that we went to. And I got to tell this story because, and here's why I'm going to tell this story. I have so many people messaging me or commenting on my posts how brave I am for traveling the world. So you're going to laugh when you hear this story. The very first Meetup that I went to, I was fairly newly divorced. This was maybe 12, 13 years ago. I signed up for a comedy club meetup. So it was at a local casino in Temecula, and they were having a comedy club, and members of this meetup group were all going to get together and listen to the comedy thing together. And so I decided to go, and I drove all the way to the casino. It's about 30 minutes. I parked in the parking structure. I walked all the way into the casino, and I was going to be going to a meetup to meet people I didn't know for the very first time. And I got so scared, I didn't even go into the thing. I turned around and I went home. I didn't even go see the comedy club. I didn't take time to meet anybody, nothing. And I look back like, how stupid is that I was afraid to even walk into a meetup and meet the organizer and some of the different people in this meetup group. I was that shy. And then I look at how ironic that is, that now I'm like by myself and I'm traveling the world and I'm eating out and going to movies and doing all kinds of stuff by myself. So I've come a long way in 12 years. But it really made me think about fear. And here's something that I want to share with you. Fear isn't real. Like, there isn't a tangible thing that is fear. I mean, think about it. How do you define it? Fear is just a feeling that we have, and it's our own perception of what bad could happen if I go ahead with this. And I don't know what was going through my mind 12 years ago, like nobody was going to talk to me or there were going to be me. I have no idea what fear was going through my mind at the time, but I know that I just didn't want to go in and meet anybody. I was nervous, I was scared, and it was easier for me to turn around, get back in my car, and drive 30 minutes home and go, I didn't want to do that. And I ultimately did show up at some different meetups, and I became very active in several different groups, hiking, biking, vacationing, and then I stayed a part of the singles group until I had met John. And so I just wanted to share that story around fear, because I want you to think about, like, what are your own fears? Most of the time, whatever we're afraid of is never going to happen. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I know I've got some people watching live. Tell me if the wind noise is too much and I'll turn around. But so I just wanted to hop on here because there's so many things that we're not doing in life. I mean, I missed out probably on a great comedy routine because I was too afraid to walk into a room with strangers. And yet here I am on this adventure. And honestly, I'm not afraid of what I'm doing right now. People are like, so you're so brave. You're so courageous. Aren't you afraid? No, I'm not afraid at all. I'm actually, this to me is like one vacation after another. And we don't get afraid when we go on a vacation. You know, we're excited about that vacation, and that's kind of what I'm feeling. So just understand that whatever feelings that you're going through, they're your own feelings based on the filters and the perceptions you have. And fear isn't real. It is a feeling you have about what could happen that probably won't. And so the next time you're nervous about doing something, you're afraid to do something, you're afraid to take an action because you're afraid of rejection, you're afraid that somebody might not like you, you're afraid that something won't work, you're afraid that an investment won't turn out, you're afraid that a business will fail, you're afraid that whatever it is that you're fearing, you have to move through that fear, because the fear isn't real. The fear is just a feeling, and there is nothing bad that's going to happen. What you're going to do is learn a lesson of what doesn't work the next time. And so I'll leave you with that. And I'll tell you how, here's how I started coming back to Sedona. I couldn't come by myself the first few times. I knew that that would be too emotional. And so the first time I came up here, I came up with about, I came up for, I think it was 4 or 5 days with 3 other people, 3 other women that I'm really good friends with. We flew in from all over the country. I just drove, but they flew in, and we came up here. We had a great time, made great memories. And then I came up a second time with somebody who's very much into meditation, just spiritual, releasing negative energy, that kind of stuff. And I really needed that one-on-one time to really get centered and reestablish positive connections here with this area. And I am now able to come up and enjoy Sedona in its fullest. I can cherish the memories that I have, but I'm not afraid of those feelings anymore. And you know what? If I have an emotional feeling, it's okay. I can feel that in the moment. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And so with that, I'll go ahead and conclude. I'm going to enjoy today in Sedona. I do hope you got value from that. If you are looking for some things to do in Sedona, I will put a link to my Sedona video. I went back to Sedona a couple months after I filmed that walk and talk, and it was more about what to do in the Sedona area. So feel free to check that out. And if you like my content, if you like following along on my nomad journey, some of the different lessons that I share, hit that like button and subscribe. I truly appreciate having you along on this journey. I love sharing where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm learning, and happy to have you along. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week.